guys, Gary here for GMVFX. Welcome to another little tutorial. My 25th. I've actually been doing this now for almost half a year. I can't believe it. I'm happy. And I keep on going. I'm going to keep on going. But if you're going to keep on going, make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit that notification button so you know that every single week, every single Friday, one of these things rolls out and it becomes another little thing for your arsenal. Anyway, today, you might notice we're not actually looking at a Blender screen. We are going to be looking at a Blender screen. So don't think it's not going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. But what we're going to look at what you can see right now is a picture on the incredible, wonderful website unsplash.com, which allows people to take free photographs from other people and use them in their own projects. And you can give us some love, give them a bit of attribution, just say hi, say thank you, and but you don't have to. But still, nonetheless, it's great. Why not? I mean, for example, this picture that we're looking at right now, which we are going to use in what we're going to do. This has been taken by a gentleman called Nolan Isaac, and he's one of the people who puts lots of pictures up on Unsplash. He goes by @NolanIsaac on their site, and he produced some great stuff. But this one in particular is going to work out really, really well for us. So what we've got here, if I just scroll this down, you can see we've got this. Let me just close that down now. I mentioned his name. Now I've mentioned you, Nolan. What we have here is a really lovely, slightly mucky room in upstate New York, Chapter, Rochester, the United States. So it's an abandoned building, basically, but it's got some really lovely walls and paper and muck and all that sort of stuff. And it's just really quite beautiful. But I'd really love to be able to move around it, but I can't because it's a picture. But maybe I can. Oh, yes, we can, because what we can use is a wonderful piece of software called Fspy. Now, Fspy is also open source, like a lot of things, and Fspy is called fspy.io, and what it does is it takes a picture, and then you basically show it where the axes are in this picture, whether it's an x-axis or a y-axis or a z-axis, and it calculates you the camera angle that it was taken at, the camera position that it came from, and also the lens. It's incredible. And then you just basically import the exported file out into Blender by using the plugin that is on their website, and which basically you get to from their website. It's actually on GitHub, but you then sort of like compile this thing, drop it in, and it becomes an add-on inside of Blender that allows you to just pull in the picture and the camera straight out of Fspy. And then you can start using something which is even better, which is called UVProject, which we are going to be using today. So, enough of me talking about all the stuff. Let's just get on with it. So I've got this picture. I've already opened it, and I've put it into... Let's have a look here very quickly. So I've got it here in Critter, which, as you are very aware, I absolutely love. Don't know why the background's pink. I still like it, though. And as you can see, I went in here and I had a look around. In fact, let's put them in. Basically, I sort of went to the picture and went, right, okay, let's just look. Is that straight? The red line's straight, but the line the 2 points is going to aren't quite, which means there's a little bit of curvilinear action from the lens on the camera. Now, obviously, 3D is not a curvilinear system, it's a rectilinear system, which basically means when you take anything, when you generate a render, the lines are always going to be straight. It's not got a lens in the way. It's got a virtual camera which does not have a lens, unless, of course, you actually put distortion into the render. But obviously, this is for building and creating a scene, so we want it to be absolutely 100% flat. So what we do is, in this wonderful package called Critter, we go to a filter, called GMIC QT. And I'm not going to bother going into it right now, but basically it's got a lens distort tool, and I have gone in there and I have undistorted this image. So that line now is perfectly straight. Once that line was perfectly straight, I knew that it was correct. And I've got this image here, which essentially is a slightly tighter version of it, which is good. I'm not going to complain. That's good. And we had to zoom in slightly because obviously when we unsquished it, we had some edgy bits. I'm going to save this out and we're going to call it Nolan Isaac K blah 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 _unsplash _rect, because I've made it rectilinear. So let's do that. And let's go OK. And now what we want to get into is Fspy, and here it is. This is just how it is. This is what it looks like. Yeah. Bland. But so not bland. There's nothing bland about this at all. So let's go into our little file and let's grab our picture, which is, where's it? Rect. Right there. I'm going to drop it in there. And straight away now you can see what the working environment is like. We have here 2 sets of these beautiful angles like this. And there's at the moment the red ones are for the X and the green ones are for the Y. Now what we want to do is we do want to use them X and Y, but probably better if we used Z and Y, because Z is obviously our up and down, which we can very distinctly see. We can go like a crack on a door frame, and or let's say leave it as X. So X is coming towards us. So X is generally in our general direction because it generally is, because it's general. And I don't know why I'm saying general, but it sounds good. So I'm going to move this over to here. I'm going to move that so that's along that line there. Let's just turn off the dimmer on the image. There we go. So that can go there. And let's take the other red one, which we've got up here, which is totally in the wrong spot, and do this with this one. So we're doing another line along here. You'll notice our axis that you can see is vanishing because it's going, well, if those are the 2 X's, what are these bad boys? And these ones are going to be our Z. So let's put that as Z. And I'll put this one up here and that one there. And then this one can go on this door here. And that one can go there. There we go. So now if I bring this down, you can see the axial plane. This is where essentially our floor might be, for example, just there. Yeah. And if we push it up, you can pass the middle of the wall and you can see it goes up, and there's that bit there and that bit there. That's absolutely bang on. That's perfect. But the best thing about this is, and I'm going to just very change this to the XY floor. There we go. Because obviously we don't work in Zs. You can see that this also matches up well to the floor space. So we can say, right, okay, well, if that's where our floor is on there, let's say we will pop that up there. So that line is up against that wall, and let's move it up a little bit there. So this is exactly where our floor here is going to be. And then we'll go, right, okay, so we'll go File, we'll go Save As, and let's point it into this same folder where we've got all our stuff going on. And we will call this, because it is obviously the Fspy file that we want, let's call it Nolan Isaacs, because it's his. There's an Ilex Fspy. I can't spell Fspy. There you go, right, and let's go save. So that's now saved that. That's as good as saved. In fact, it is exactly saved. And now we're going to go into Blender. Now, of course, we've done what we need to do in here. There's nothing that needs to be done here at all now. We shall just go straight into the Blender. Mouth's not working. I think I might just leave that bit in. Blendy. So, and so you can see this is generally a standard Blender skin. And let's go File, Import. Oh, basically, so very quickly, if you haven't installed an add-on before, you go Edit Preferences, and you get to Add-ons, and I'm going to just go FS because I know mine's imported, but there it is. It's Fspy. There it is. Any documentation you want, fspy.io. And here, apart from the little basic tutorials in the video, you've got, if you go to Download, Mac, Windows, and Linux, you've got all those there. But then you'll also want, if I go back, you'll want to make sure that you also download the official Fspy importer add-on, which is in the Stuff It one here. And this, basically, that's where you, as I said, you download a zip, and then that's what you install. Anyway, back to where we were. So you've got the add-on, you've installed it, that's absolutely fine. So now you go File, you go Import, you go Fspy at the bottom there, and then we will very much point it at our GemVFX folder. We go Toots, and we go Fspy Camera Proj, and there's Nolan Isaacs Fspy.fspy. So import that, and immediately you can see up here we've got Nolan Isaacs Fspy. That's actually the group camera. And that's now been made the master camera. So if I click on that camera there, we're back. That puts it back to the main camera there on there. But if I click it back on this one and then we press O, there you go. That's our scene camera. But and then you can see we have our cube in there. All fine, all good, all lovely. So let's just delete that. And I'm going to add into the scene, I'm going to add a grid. So let's go Mesh and Grid. And now you can see that. Let's just basically turn on the wireframe. Let's say it's a little bit too high for the purposes right now. So let's set this. Oops. Oh, didn't want to do that. Let's try that again. F9. F9. Let's set this to something a bit lower. 4, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 4, 5. Let's set that to 5 and 5. Okay, right. So there we are. That's 5 and 5, which means basically we've got 4 by 4 in terms of the actual polygons. And I'm going to leave that roughly where it is because we already set up the floor in Blender is that floor in there. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to split this down the middle and I'm going to make this a different camera view just by doing that. Nice and simple. And we're going to take the edit, we're going to take these edges. I'm going to move them all the way over to this wall here. And I'm going to take these edges. I'm going to push these all the way across until they reach roughly that wall over there. In fact, if I zoom in on this, you can see because we're not locked to change the camera, I can zoom in as far as I want on this one and not actually shift what our camera is looking at, which is great. So I can just go, right, let's take that up to there. And then let's take these front ones. And if I just zoom back a little bit, let's move these over to here. Let's take these ones, let's move these a bit further down to here. Let's take these back ones. And let's zoom in again, just to be sure we're getting, oh, it's a nice big quality picture. You forget, actually, how good they are. Take that to there. That's just right up to that wall, which is good. Great, 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 great. Goody, goody, goody. Oh, and it looks a little bit odd, that, does it not? Is that door a bit further back? That might be. It's weird because it actually looks like it's bent the wrong way, but it's not because our wall line is straight. Anyway, that's fine. Don't worry. I'm worried now. That's probably just some subsidence in the floor or something like that. Very likely. Yeah. Let's go with that. Let's go with it being something wrong with the building. It is a collapsed, condemned kind of building, so we're okay. I'll sort it. Now, what we've got here is pretty much our wall to a certain point, but obviously we have a bit that crops go into wall or a floor to a certain point, but what we've got here is a bit that needs to just go down to here. And then let's select, where are we? Where's that corner there? That's right. Okay, so we're up here. Let's select these two edges and let's go EY to extrude them in the Y and move them to there. That's good. Lovely. So at the minute, that just looks like a boring regular floor, as in it has nothing on it. So that's why it's boring. But we need to give this image as a texture. So what we're going to do is we are going to very quickly go into the modifier for this object and add UVProject. So that basically now says I've got a UV projection. It's going to be the UV map, basically, of whatever this object has, and it's going to come from our camera projector. So that's where you link the object is actually from the camera. Therefore, what that means is you can actually link it from most objects. So, but what you can also do is you can increase the number. So if you've got, basically, if you've filmed or taken photographs of a room and you've taken 5 photographs or 6 photographs of a room, you can then create individual Fspy cameras and use each of those as a projector. So, for example, if you're looking down a hallway, out through that wall, out through that hole in the wall, that big thing, what do they call it? It's a door, Gary. Okay, so when you're looking through the door and you can see the hallway, when you shoot a bit more in that hallway, and then you've got something to project that hallway onto from the camera, from that. So you can actually get quite a large area of stuff projectors and combine them all together, and it just combines all the images that you actually indicate from those particular cameras onto the object. It is really quite something. So you can basically take the UVs from the camera and in the shader connect them into a separate image, which you then merge into and mix with the one that's currently there. It's brilliant. We're only going to use one though. So let me set those back to 1. Dum, dum, dum. And there we are. There's our one projection. Now still we can't see what's going on. So also you'll notice the aspect ratio is currently at 1:1. We will come back to that. So let's go to shading. And here is our Fspy camera. and here is our floor. So let's add to this. Well, let's not add one of those. Let's very quickly change this up here to an emission shader. If you do it actually in the modifier, sorry, not in the modifier, but actually in this wonderful panel, which name escapes me. What's it called? The editor. Okay, so the properties tab. So you go down to the settings at the bottom, which are for your material, and you click on where it said principled BSDF. BRDF? BSDF? I always want to call it BSDF. I got that bit right. And then you can just change it to emission, and it saves you having to go add, disconnect, blow that away, just does it all in one fell swoop. So we're going to have the emission, because obviously this is a room which is actually self-lighting itself, and we don't need any lights to light it. And we are going to add into here a texture, an image texture, just like this, which I'm going to plug in, and of course there's nothing in it, so it's going to go black. So let's open in our, no, not that folder, in our GenVFX, in our tools, in our Fspy camera, we're going to pick on our rect image, and we're going to go open image, and you can see that it's trying to use the camera's actual projection. So you can see it's actually there, but unfortunately it's kind of projecting it onto the floor and the wall halfway up there as well, and it's not right. And the reason for that, because what we didn't do, and this is where we go back to our model, is we did not edit the aspect ratio of our image. So if I push this up, and I won't, believe me, I'm not going to do it this way, I will do it properly, accurately. What will happen is at some point we'll get the exact angle correctly for that bottom of that wall. And you can tell I've got it wrong because you can see the other part of the wall on there. So the best way to find that is to go back to your Fspy. So where's the Fspy? And up here we've got our image. Our width is 6,000 and our height is 4,000, which is 1.5 by 1, really, isn't it? Because that's half again. So our aspect ratio is 1.5 in our picture. So if I change that to 1.5, that is now correct for the floor. And it means I can see all the stuff on the floor as I would like to see it. But of course it's completely flat and inaccurate. But we'll come back to that. Now, you'll also notice we have breakage here in the texture. Well, there is a very good reason for that, and that is because there are not enough pieces of geometry for the UVProject to calculate itself correctly. So the best way to do that is for us to go back to our layout, and we will put this in rendered mode so I can see it. And here now you can see where I mean about this. And then in this one we are going to go to wireframe because we just want to be able to see what we're doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more little bits and bobs of stuff, i.e. let's go into edit mode and start sticking in some extra edges. Now you can see straight away on the left hand side I've basically fixed that hole in the floor just by doing that. I haven't, because I actually want to create that hole in the floor. So I'm going to do that, and I'm now going to do that and that and that. You can see what I can hope you can see what I'm doing. I am going to try and build this hole in the floor by actually cutting it out. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do whoops, and I'm going to do, I'm not going to do whoops, I'm going to do that. So let's just zoom in here. In fact, you can do it here as well if you want to, but it's more accurate to do it in the view that you're looking down. Let's do this. that's not too bad. That gives us a little bit more there, really. And then just to be absolutely certain we've got nothing. I mean, that's no. I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with that. So what we're gonna do now is going to press O, and that basically puts us to this camera. And I am going to have a look at the position of this item. So let's go back to Edit Object Mode, and let's pick this camera, and we've got it at -10, -0.6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to here, camera. Let's go -10. Let's just double check. -0.6, -0.6. I could actually probably, if I'm honest, select. I've never done this before. So let's see what happens. If can I copy the path data? Copy the data path. Let's try copying the data path. Go to the camera and let's go paste data path. No, I'm not adding drivers. Okay, that's fine. I'm not copying the data path. That's actually for using drivers. Not a good idea. So don't do that. That would be silly. Very silly. And so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do what I was doing before, which is have a rough look at the camera. I say 1.38. So let's go back to our camera and go 1.38. So it's kind of in the same position. And then let's have a quick look at this. So it's 90, 0.1 minus 90. So let's say 90 minus 0.1. No, was it point minus 1? 0.1. There we go. 0.1. And I think that was minus 90. There we go. Yes, that's kind of does it, doesn't it? So I can now see down here with my actual camera. So I'm going to change that to our actual camera now. And let's change that to FZ again. So what I want to do is I want to just take our camera, which by the way at the moment is 50mm, and I'm going to change that down to 24. And notice it makes absolutely no difference to what we've done. So I can take that right into our little room like that. Yep. And I can take it across here a little bit. And I can rotate it round a tiny bit. I mean, I can do what I want with it really, as long as I don't try and get into the wrong angle. But you'll notice if you look at this is actually still 1.5 by 1. Now we don't need our scene to be actually an aspect ratio of 1.5 to 1 or 1 to 1.5 at all for it to work. We just have to have that information in the UV projection. So that's all done and dusted. So I can now go back to this and you can see the render viewport. It's the render dimensions are 6000 by 4000 because that's what size the image is. But I can change that to 1920 by 1080, and we've basically got exactly what we would want if we were just using some HD. I mean, you could change it and make it 2.35 if you wanted in terms of aspect. But what I want to do is I just want to have some fun. I've got a feeling I'm not the only one. I'm going to bring this over here. And let's have it so we can see what we're doing. That's not too bad. Let's leave it there. And let's change our animation timeline to 125. So it's only 5 seconds. And let's actually go into animation and go Z2 in there, and you can see that. And I'm going to change the passepartout in the camera. So let's go into the viewport display, and the passepartout is set to 0.5, which means it's semi-transparent. So let's push that to 1. So all we can literally see in there is just our room, and that is actually just the picture as looking down our camera. It's actually, when you look at it when you think of it like that, it's actually quite good. You know, I mean, it really is something. I think it's really quite special. So let's get back to our camera. I'm going to pick the camera, and let's press the N key, and we'll just go II on location and rotation. And I'm going to move it across to frame 125, and let's just press T so we can pick the transform, and I'm going to move this into the room, and I'm going to move it this way, and I'm going to rotate it this way, and maybe Dutch it a little bit. Yeah. So we've actually now got a little camera move. Let's just very quickly go I and those. So if I just now scan this, you can see that if we move this across here, so this is bigger, and I press play, now we go, we're actually moving into our room. I'm going to change that camera actually, because at the beginning of it and also at the end, you can still see a little bit of the other object coming in. the other side of the texture map coming in, sorry. So if I just pop this a little bit forwards to that, and maybe push it over here, and let's push it forwards a bit. We're kind of seeing, thing is, I'm seeing that wall through there. I know it's not right, but I'm just trying to do things for speed and making it feel a bit more nicer. Sound like my dog. How about if I pop it there? That's fine. That's fair. I can live with that. So I and I for saving the keyframes, and then just go up to here. And let's move this so the angle is lower and raise it up. Yeah, so we get a feel of a bit more sort of like motion around the room. In fact, let's just pull it back a little bit as well. A little bit. Yeah, there we go. I for the keyframes, and then boom, and we'll just play this back. So there you go. So what we're getting is, and I'm playing it backwards. Let's play it forwards. There you go. And essentially you have a really nice room, but you have done absolutely no modelling beyond some very, very basic stuff. Now you could actually, and this is when things can get really quite nice. You can actually stick other things in there, obviously. So let's very quickly, let me just go back into the layout for the sake of argument, and let's go and add a mesh. We'll add a UV sphere. Let's scale it down. So let's go edit mode, select all, and go scale. And then go back to object mode and lift this up. And let's just shade this smooth. So we actually be sure that's all going to work. And I'm going to go into shading, and I'm going to very quickly, I'm going to add into this a PBR. And not a PBR, sorry, a principal BSDF. And I'm going to make the color noir. I'm going to bring this roughness down. I'm going to take the metallic up to the top, specular, and as you can see, you can't see a thing until I push this all the way up. And that is currently reflecting, well, that's currently reflecting just our environmental area that we've got in that. So I'm going to actually change that as well. Let's change that to something which feels a bit more like a room, which isn't a room. That is a room. There you go. So that's good. So first we've got a room which is reflecting. It's not correct. I'm not worried about that so much. What I do want to do though is I want to go into our settings, and I want to turn on screen space reflections. So I can then take this ball and I can move it. If I just do this, I can I can move it down and back. So it's just inside of there. And we can assume that it's reflecting the room that's there. That lovely, lovely room is the other side of this nasty, awful room. In fact, I wonder what happens if I take it up to this wall. Yeah, you can do all sorts, make it look really quite tasty. But now, so if I go back to our animation viewport and then we view this now, so we've got, and it looks a little bit ropey because it's doing a lot of stuff in the viewport all at the same time. So let's set this to 128 and set this to 256, so we can actually get some other stuff going on in there. But it actually, you see, basically it sits in the middle of the room. It's like it's really there. It is, I'm telling you. So yeah, you can actually build a chair. I mean, you can see that plank actually looks more like it exists. The reason for that is because we've modeled it to exist. You can actually build a 3D model of a chair or a table or something and put it in there as well. I've done that before on certain jobs where I've had to paint out lampposts and all sorts, and then actually put them back in as 3D geometry. So you can do it. You just have to like that with this environment. And Bob's Bob, as we say in the UK, Robert's your mother's brother. Bob's your uncle. You can get some great stuff going on. So let's just very quickly just take that to the rendering tab. Let's just stop this and go here. And I was pressing F12, not F9. And you can see now it's not reflecting the environment that was just there, that was visible at the time, because that's only really for reviewing, not in the renders. But there you see you've got this whole lovely thing going on there with your object. So I can then take that up to 512. And oops, and then let's just press F12 again. So the render settings are even higher. Quality is a lot better in the reflection. It's just really, really great. You know, you could even put shadows back in here as well. So you could actually use the scene as a shadow catching object on a separate render pass and then add that shadow back in. So much you can do. So much you can do with this. But at the end of the day, it is just a lovely way of making something look pretty. It's making it look pretty. And if that isn't what this is all about, then I don't know what is. So there you go. That's how you use Fspy and UVProject, and how you basically build your geometry based on that projection. As I said, this is quite rough, but it does give you the indication of exactly how you go about using it. You do make cleaner images, which you put in behind for the geometry behind. So the wall behind the door wouldn't necessarily look like it was the door, because you'd actually have a set extension that you've basically painted onto a texture, which you use to replace the one at the back, and so on. But yeah, no, this is basically the way that most people do a lot of their work when it looks real. It's not because they've spent hours basically making it look perfect. It's because they've found the right image, or they've taken the right image and then they've projected it onto a surface. It's by far the most prolific way of doing this stuff. Anyway, I hope that's some good to you, and I'll get this up as fast as I can, because I know actually I'm doing this on a Friday and I'm already doing it later than I normally send something up. So I'll speak to you soon, guys. Take care, and there may be a few fluffs and stuff in this one just to speed this along, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Don't forget there's 24 more of these. Click on the notifications tab. You'll get to find out what's going on every single Friday. And yeah, thanks very much for subscribing, and I will speak. Thank you very much for watching it to the end. I mean, I know I've just doing this for 52 minutes. You've probably got a slightly truncated version, or maybe not. Who knows? So speak to you soon, guys. Look after yourselves. Bye.